Hello. So recently I watched a movie, 1958, Peter Sellers, called Up the Creek. British comedy movie about guy in the Navy and he got a new assignment and all sorts of funny stuff happens. Not the greatest comedy, but Peter Sellers always does a good job. And the, compared to some modern day movies, it wasn't bad either. But so yeah, that's sort of like the old British comedies, I guess. Anyway, this has nothing to do with that, other than the fact that in the film there was a pub called the Pig and Whistle, and now Handicap, a comic strip from the 1970s. I think it lasted into the 80s. Reg Smythe drew it. I remember one of the old comics, him listing a list of his favorite pubs, and one of them was the Pig and Whistle. So this, of course, got me curious, and I decided to, was this a common name for a pub? So I started looking up stuff about Pig and Whistle. Interesting thing. So a lot of American bars are called the Pig and Whistle. That's first amazing thing that came up was a lot of bars in America call themselves the Pig and Whistle. Some of them claim to be traditional English pubs. Others don't. Of course, in America, when we say traditional English, whatever, it's not necessarily going to be as traditional English as you would expect if you were from England. But having never visited any of these establishments, I'm not going to criticize any of them. Variety of spellings. So there would be pig and whistle. There would be pig apostrophe in whistle. There would be pig apostrophe in apostrophe whistle. There would be pig ampersand whistle. And so trying to find out, which of these are related to each other and which are not, because some of them are chains, was hard to do, especially internet being the internet. You look up one thing and a link says Pig and Whistle, and then you click on it and they show the logo of the establishment and it is Pig ampersand Whistle, or the Pig and Whistle, or just various things. So the internet being what it is, it's even harder to tell without going to every individual page. But I went to a lot of pages just to try to figure out how these were related. But that sort of gets away from the main point: is what is Pig and Whistle? Where does it come from? So actually, I'm going to start with the restaurants. And I'm not going to hit them all. So, and to be fair, there was the Pig Whistle, which is apparently just a restaurant that specializes in pork. It is not Pig and Whistle in New Jersey. And I started seeing references to just Pig Whistle as opposed to Pig and Whistle. So, not sure if they got the name from Pig and Whistle or how this happened. Language things change over time, so they might have said this sounds like a good idea, but we're not going to call it and whistle because it might confuse people. I don't know. So a lot of stuff. I started coming across a lot of restaurants as well as pubs. One of the odder ones, Atlanta. It appears to be a barbecue restaurant. They refer to themselves as the Pig and Whistle. Their logo says established in 1805, but their website says that it was established in around 1927, I think it was, 1928. So they had a little article about where does Pig and Whistle come from, and their claim is just people were illiterate, so establishments would put a picture of a pig and a whistle out to let people know you could get food and drink here. They're going by wet your whistle, as so the whistle stands for drink and the pig obviously stands for food. Um, a lot of sources that I've looked up for other studies, the idea that everyone was illiterate back in the Middle Ages is false. People knew how to read. They weren't all scholars. They couldn't, a legal treatise or whatever they might not understand, but most people could read enough to get along day by day. So the idea that we just have a sign with a picture, pig and whistle to stand for food and drink because the people couldn't read doesn't make a lot of sense. Most people just, pub or inn or tavern, most people would at least know that word. So their explanation of the origin is very iffy. Of course, this was a barbecue restaurant in America trying to make claims about a traditional English pub name, so it's questionable. And there's a place down in Florida, the Pig and Whistle, Cocoa Beach, Florida, established in 1987. And according to their website, going back to the 1650s, which is why I just made the mistake on the date there, they claim to be a traditional English pub. So the British ships docking in the Americas, had the Caribbean colonies, all that. They gave rum to the sailors, and so supposedly at one point the guy who was in charge of dispersing rum was found to be drunk. Normally in these cases, the captain kept the key to the rum cabinet. He would give it to someone and tell them to disperse the rum. So the guy who dispersed the rum was found to be drunk. And so they made a rule that basically captain gives you the key, you start to whistle. And you go and you whistle until you have distributed the rum and given the key back to the captain. Now, a piggin was the term used for a barrel of rum at the time, or a barrel. So here's the key. You can go to the piggin and whistle as you do it, is their explanation. I've seen other sites claiming that this was a common, servants, same thing. Servants go to the liquor cellar. They were told to whistle as they did it. Now, British ships of the 1600s, they weren't that big. You had the large frigates, which everyone associates with naval things, but most ships weren't that big. They would have a crew of usually at least 12 people. So the idea that the guy distributing the rum would be out of sight long enough to drink, because 12 people on a small ship, you're going to be within sight of someone for a while. So, and then there's a question: how much rum does it take to get drunk? Not going to experiment on that, or if I do experiment, I'm not going to share my results. So sort of the idea that this guy could have gotten drunk while distributing the rum without anyone noticing him drinking on the job is a bit iffy. The idea of the person whistling as they go to the cellar, a little more probable, but also sort of iffy, because there was a question of, can I hear you whistling when you, go downstairs? Houses that would have spirit cellars would be bigger. It would be harder to hear the person whistling continuously. So, like I said, that's, and several sites have listed similar stories, but most of them say they're questionable, which I agree. There are a little questions. There's reason to question these, although it does make for a good story. So it possible, not probable, let's say. New York, there's a chain. According to one site, they have at least 13 stores. They're called the Pig and Whistle. And actually, I said store. They're actually restaurants slash pubs. Um, their websites never particularly said traditional English, so but I'm assuming because of the name and they do call themselves pubs. I'm assuming that they intend them to be traditional English. Hollywood. So this back in 1908, a guy who ran hotels named John Gage started a restaurant in Los Angeles called the Pig and Whistle, and it was described as a combination restaurant candy store. So they apparently had soda bar and stuff like that. He basically started a chain of these eventually. They up and down the coast. He had about 20. And these were family friendly. They weren't pubs. Although you could drink, you could order drinks, but they were family friendly. There were illustrations of child stories and stuff on the wall. There they had the soda bar. They were aimed for kids. I bring that up because there's also the Hollywood Boulevard one, which has recently been gutted. Someone bought it out, and they're going to, and there was big to do about it apparently a few years ago. So recently it's meant to be gutted. This was apparently big with actors. It was on Hollywood Boulevard. 1927 it was opened, and so what was this one of John Gage's chains, which was just more of an adult theme or not, couldn't find out. But so that one of his was actually somewhat famous for people, Hollywood history buffs might have heard of it, although they might not have heard of the other 20 stores in the chain. Now there's a store in Michigan, which this was according to like the Michigan Bureau of Commerce or Office of Commerce or whatever they call it. Just mentioned it as a store, and apparently it's like a souvenir store. So it's called the Pig and Whistle, though. Shopping and gifts it's located under. So we're starting to get out of the realm of bars and stuff and just into this is an interesting name, let's call it this. There is Whistle Pig Rye Whiskey. They were established in 2015. Whistle Pig Farms. Now, a whistle pig is actually a slang term for a groundhog, but their logo has a pig on it. And this is stuff that they actually address on their website. I visited their website to try to find out where they got the name Whistle Pig from. And so, still doesn't explain why they chose Whistle Pig. But they acknowledge that a whistle pig is not a pig, and that they are using, their use of a pig as their logo is different from a whistle pig. And so that sort of makes me suspect slightly that the Pig and Whistle somewhere along the line played a role in their decision of this name. But I could be wrong on that completely. Although, and it just interested me that came up in my search. And possibility to consider. Then 2015, Denver, Colorado opened a medical marijuana store called the Pig and Whistle. And why they called it the Pig and Whistle, I have no clue. Other than, it's sort of a name that worked into the dichotomy of, people associated with getting drunk, and so let's associate it with getting high, even though it's selling medical marijuana. Not sure where, I don't know. They didn't explain why they called it the Pig and Whistle on their site. And then, like I said, there are various other restaurants and bars and stuff throughout Tennessee and Texas and New Jersey and other places have. So throughout America, it's become pretty big. England, they do have places called the Pig and Whistle. Not as many as in America. Australia, Brisbane, there's a chain of Pig and Whistle restaurants. There's one just outside Melbourne. Um, New Zealand has one. So, I don't know, didn't visit all the sites, didn't visit everything. There's probably plenty out there that I don't know about. But it's become a popular restaurant name, is my point here. Now, Pig and Whistle was a nickname of the Philadelphia and Western Railroad. And that's just probably trains have whistles, and how they got the pig in there, I don't know. Could be, again, someone who was familiar with pubs and just started calling it the Pig and Whistle, I don't know. There is also a Canadian musical television series that ran from 1967 to 1977. I'm assuming this is like a variety show type thing. It took place in a bar, so they called it the Pig and Whistle. And they'd have, your general, pub entertainment, your small string bands and stuff like that. And apparently it was popular for about 10 years. So, television show called the Pig and Whistle. Now, made the comment earlier that Pig and Whistle was a common bar name, and apparently it wasn't. So, trying to find out again, where does Pig and Whistle come up as the name of a bar? And so one site listed, according to the Wordsworth Dictionary of Pub Names, published in 1994, it estimated that in the 1980s there were only 10 pubs with the name Pig and Whistle. It did make reference to a man named Lillywhite did a survey of 17,000 London pub signs and could not find any that made reference to Pig and Whistle. That survey was done in the 19th century. So about 100 years ago, someone did a survey of pub signs and did not find any Pig and Whistles. According to the same article, Pig and Whistle, it was sort of a generic name that people gave in literature to, we need a pub, we don't want to advertise an actual pub, so we'll just call it the Pig and Whistle. Which leads to the question of why. Why did authors start using Pig and Whistle? And it was used in stage plays and books and stuff like that. So various other explanations have come up. So a common one is Piggen Wassail, Piggenwassail, or some places will say Peg and Wassail. And so the Piggen or Peg was supposedly a slang term for a drinking cup or barrel or some vessel for storing liquids. Wassail, either a spiced drink, which Shakespeare made reference to wassail in some of his plays as a spiced drink. And then at one time, wassail was sort of a greeting, sort of cheers, wassail, or to your health, or something like that, coming from the Old English. Another site said that the Piggen was a leather cup that people in the West Midlands, they did a lot of lead refineries there. And so, according to this theory, Piggen was this little leather cup that the lead workers would keep with them. Lead working is hot work, so they would have to have water frequently. So they'd have a water boy go around. And on the handle of your Piggen, there was a little whistle attached. And so you start to overheat, you need more water, you blow your whistle, the water boy comes and fills your cup. Didn't find any examples of a Piggen with a whistle on the handle or whatever. Leather cups, these might not have survived very well. So, could be true, could be something someone made up, I don't know. Anything else? So, Oxford Dictionary of English Language. And this back to the one article which mentioned that there really weren't a lot of pubs with the name until the late 1900s. According to them, there were two other uses for the phrase, and they actually quoted some poems that used it, and the Oxford Dictionary of the English Language backs them up on this one. So first one is back in the 1600s. Pigs and whistles was just a term for odds and ends, fragments, trivia. And they actually quote a poem. Samuel Colville from 1681 wrote a poem in which he mentions men discoursing of their pigs and whistles. And this actually starts to make a little more sense. The tavern, pub, whatever, was a local meeting group place. So you'd go and you'd gossip. And so people would discuss pigs and whistles. Later, there was a Scottish poem from the 1794. Harstrig is called, and it's "For he to pigs and whistles went and left the land." And there was a story about a man, his life going to, pieces. And so pigs and whistles, it was a term for rack and ruin. And again, we've got a poem to sort of pack this up, and the Oxford Dictionary of English Language mentions it. So again, drinking can lead you to rack and ruin, maybe, I don't know. So I would say the term probably came from, gossip, fragments, odds and ends. And so I can see this happening. An author writing, he needs a book, or he needs a name for a pub, and since it's sort of the local meeting place, he calls it the Pig and Whistle, especially if it's going to be a comedy, because that would it would indicate, Pig and Whistle would indicate that there's a lot of gossip going on, and so whatever farce takes place here, it starts by somebody telling stories that they shouldn't be telling. So my guess is that's where it originally came from. Pig and Wassail would make sense if there were more pubs by the name back earlier on, but like I said, there weren't, and so it's still a possibility, but it doesn't make as much sense, because why would it be a direct reference to drinking if it's not used for taverns as often? If it's just a literary thing, then yes, it would make sense that there's a second meaning to it, gossip or something like that. So that's all. Like I said, I came across this weird little Pig and Whistle and 2 or 3 pieces of fiction that I've read, comic strips and movies and stuff. And I just got curious. Is this a common name? And apparently it is more common now for a bar than it was back in the past. In the past, it was more of just a literary name that we called bars just to give them a name. That's all. And have a good day.